Read that.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the 5 Dudes Minus One podcast. This is actually last week's episode. If you want today's episode, that will be on our Patreon. You can get a week early if you contribute. That is patreon.com/5D1P.
And before we get started, let's give a shout out to our Patreoners: Big Boy Gamer 96, Ultimo Chungus, Epstein DKH, and XX Noob Story XX. And on to you, Adam. For your
Starting off with one of the biggest stories of 2019, it actually started October 5th, 2017, about Kevin Spacey. The New York Times published allegations and documented reports exposing Kevin Spacey for alleged sexual assault of women in the film industry. In a single day, the beloved social titan became just another washed-up disgrace out of the Hollywood machine. 11 days later, ABC reported at least 20 young men over the age of 18 coming forward at the London Theatre at the Old Vic to report alleged sexual misconduct by Spacey. Within weeks, Spacey was dropped from the primetime television series he starred in, House of Cards. And the icons followed. Even more men and women came forward, some even bringing Spacey to court, 3 of which are now dead. An anonymous massage therapist, Linda Culkin, and Ari Ben have all accused and brought Spacey to court between 2017 and 2019. All 3 were key witnesses and thus crucial to the case's merit, and so that they would have to openly testify and stand against him in court. The John Doe massage therapist passed away at 62 before he could testify. Linda Culkin was struck by a car while crossing the street in 2017, and Ari Ben committed suicide at 47 on Christmas Day in 2019. If you've ever watched any crime drama, it's clear who the puppet master really is: Spacey. For the third victim bag, the evidence doesn't fall anymore in his favor. Christmas Eve, the night before Ben committed suicide, Spacey released a cryptic minute-long video to the public titled "Kill Them with Kindness." The video was of him, or at least a mirror image of him. It was his infamous House of Cards character, Frank Underwood, sitting in front of a burning fireplace, there to wish the public a Merry Christmas. But the most frightening part was yet to come, as he concluded the video. His closing remarks were as follows: "The next time someone does something you don't like, you can go on the attack. But you can also hold your fire and do the unexpected. You can kill them with kindness." Posting this video is incriminating in its own right, but the fact that he performed in the ex-role of Frank Underwood is even worse. Fans of the show will understand how posting as Frank Underwood is even more incriminating. The fictional character is known for 3 things in the show: political puppetry, deception, and murder. If even that was enough to convince you Spacey is a cold-blooded killer, even more charges were dropped in July after his incriminating cell phone evidence was mysteriously deleted only 6 days after being filed. Killer or not, Spacey has contributed to the media roller coaster that has been the past 6 years and 2019. Even in social exile, Spacey is still finding new ways to slither into our feeds as he struggles to keep himself relevant.
Slither into our feeds.
I like that. Thank you for joining
All right, Adam has to
us.
leave us now.
He's got to run to track.
It is
That
now,
was a good one.
I'm going to take a seat now.
now only
I feel
3
awkward.
dudes,
So
1
far.
podcast.
It's not 3 Dudes, 1 podcast. From 5 to 3. This is a lot of math.
All right, guys. I think we should adjust the camera angle real quick.
Yeah, we got to get closer. You guys want to stare at us right in the eyes.
Especially everyone.
All right, moving on.
Kobe.
All right, guys. Speaking of Kevin Spacey, on April 15th, 1956, Alan Dulles, the first civilian director of the CIA, met with President Dwight D. Eisenhower to discuss putting cameras in the sky. What was that, Max?
Oh, cameras.
I know, terrible. After their meeting, which was there was little known about it. It's my bad.
It's okay.
Never mind. It was on.
Keep going.
I'm going. All right. Little was known.
Interruption. Aiden Connor, please report to the counseling office. Aiden Connor, please report to the counseling office. Thank you.
Hell, Max.
We're sorry.
Why do you keep interrupting?
We're sorry, Patreon. We're sorry.
All right. I have to collect my thoughts now because 2 disruptions in a row from Max Kirshen is not helpful.
You're not helping yourself.
All right. After their initial meeting, which little is known about, it was revealed that Eisenhower liked the plan that Dulles approached him with. And he said, "You know what? Come back to me once you have a solid plan figured out. I like what you have so far." And it is highly, highly believed that Dulles' original plan was to kill every living bird and replace them with drones. And believe it or not, that's exactly what happened.
So true.
I know, it is. Because directly after their meeting, Dulles enlisted 23 engineers from the Boeing project at Area 51 to construct these high high-tech little birdies. However, on the way to the project site, one member was left behind because, and I quote from the very reliable source, birdsaren'treal.com, hit it up if you haven't seen it before.
That's a good site.
One member was left behind because he had to pee way too much and he was really ruining the vibe of the trip.
That's a quote, right?
A direct quote from the website. I believe it.
It's called literature, guys. Come on.
It's the realest you can get. Finally, from the early 60s to 2001, the government mercilessly genocided every living bird and replaced them with
As
drones.
they should,
Real.
as one does.
Yeah. Just a normal Tuesday night. All right. So now that we've gotten the main parts of the conspiracy done, Max, do you have any questions? Want to know about it?
I have two questions actually. My first one is, these drones. They
Yeah.
gotta charge up somewhere.
Oh.
What are they doing?
Thank you for asking, Max, because that is very, very good question. All right.
Okay.
So you're walking outside. What do you see on the power line sometimes?
Shoes.
That comes another time, Max, but that's next week.
Occasionally, I see a bird.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, if you ever see a bird sitting on a power line or a group of birds sitting on a power line, run. Because it can only mean one thing.
They're buying drugs.
That comes later in the conspiracy, believe it or not.
Okay.
That's part of it. But
Okay.
when birds sit on the power lines, they're charging up. They're juicing up. They're getting ready for their next mission.
Time for my second question.
Yeah, what's that?
All this bird-based food we eat, we'll eat bird-based eggs, chicken. What is it anyway?
All right, I'm going to start with eggs.
I'm gonna close the door real quick. I'm listening.
This is your third interruption.
Dude, I'm closing the door. I'm
All
listening.
right. I'm going to start off with eggs. So, Brennan, have you ever been to a bank? You drive up, and they have a tube. Put someone in it.
I actually have been to a bank.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you ever used the I don't know what they're called, the sucky tubes?
Please, you can think
the
of a
pipes?
better word for that.
No, I'm going to use sucky tubes.
All right.
All right. So basically,
I
if you don't know what it means, it's a tube. You put a little capsule in it. It
sucks.
sucks it up.
Yeah.
Because it's a sucky tube. It sucks it up.
So
And-
birds.
Birds. I was getting to that.
Okay.
I was just making sure our viewers know.
I was following.
All right. So technically, or not technically, basically, I don't know why I got those mixed up.
It's okay.
Basically, the government has installed. The government has installed miles and miles and miles of tubes across the United States.
Oh.
And want to know where they lead? They lead to chicken coops and branches on trees.
So the
So what-
farmers don't even know.
The farmers don't know, and I'm going to get to why they don't know soon. But that's the next that feeds into the to the food. So the government has millions upon millions of engineered eggs. You don't have to. I know.
Dude, okay. Just
And they're transported across the country with these tubes under chickens and other birds. So now getting into the poultry area, especially around Thanksgiving time, the government, they go to the same facilities where McDonald's gets their meat, pretty much just McDonald's, but you get the deal. It's all fake. It's all soy. None of it's real. And the government gets drugs, puts it in the poultry, and feed it to the American population.
that's why
What do those drugs do?
Those drugs, thank you for asking, they're mind control drugs.
Oh.
So,
This is why you go to Chick-fil-A instead.
exactly. Chick-fil-A, mean, Chick-fil-A, they still have fake chicken, but it's not drug because
Yeah.
they're a nice Christian
Oh.
company.
Yeah.
And Max, would you like to?
Oh, no, I have one more section.
Yeah. You can't cook Coke.
Where does the government get these drugs? Thank you for asking. Max, what is the drug capital of the world?
If I said my bubby's house, is that wrong?
Where does your bubby get the drugs?
South America.
That's a great guess. It's South America.
What?
The entire place, not a specific place.
Your Bubsy did go to Argentina for a little bit.
I'm sorry for you and your Bubsy. I mean, not your Bubsy's party. Yeah. So basically, when birds are migrating, they are actually going to South America to get millions upon millions of different types of pills, different drugs, which the government then distributes, and none of us know it because
And they distribute it via those birds.
those birds are the carriers. They're the carriers, and then they're placed in the poultry that we eat to keep us under control.
Does that mean avian flu is really just a code word for marijuana?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Okay, well, birds, even though they don't exist, they would have originated on this little rock we call Earth that we live on. And this Earth, what shape is it, guys? What shape?
I think it's a donut.
I don't know what to believe.
Completely wrong. You ever seen a disc before? Disc, flat Earth. Don't even question it. Marilyn Teed, a resident of the suburbs of Philadelphia, this patron saint, argued her case to the Methacton School District that they were teaching lies regarding the shape of the planet. It was said, in particular, creationists have long argued that it's only fair to teach both sides of the debate. For those of you who don't know, creationists are the ones who are people who believe that God created all life and not that evolution does not exist. So,
What is life?
well,
All right, never mind.
that's
all
not
topic.
okay.
Yeah.
That's next week's episode.
Yeah, we have to come back, or if you don't, today, whatever. Well, if you're going to teach both sides of the debate, then why? How is that possibly justified? The problem with being fair is that if you're going to teach multiple sides of an already scientifically proven question, is that how do you know, first of all, which sides are worth teaching or which debates are worth teaching? So how is it justified that you can argue that the Earth is real? How is it justified to argue that you should be teaching that the Earth is flat?
So how do we know anything, basically?
Exactly. I mean,
Because NASA's fake.
NASA is fake. This is all bonus episode stuff. But even though people like Marilyn Teed want to be taught in school that the Earth is flat, just as it's taught that evolution exists and that religion, it's a whole spiel. Even though people like Marilyn Teed want it to be taught the Earth is flat in school, some people want to publicize it even more than that. Ever heard of Kyrie Irving?
No.
He's a basketball player currently for the Brooklyn Nets. He's quite good.
It's all right.
In an interview in this past June, he questioned the interviewer when asked about his beliefs on the shape of the Earth. He questioned the interviewer, "Can you openly admit that you know the Earth is constitutionally round? Like, you know that for sure? Like, I don't know." That's exactly what he said.
Constitutional.
You want to
That's a big word.
All right.
ask Kyrie.
He's also trying to argue that the Earth is flat. So
Yeah, when he's not arguing it. No, that's a misconception though. Because despite all these puzzled comments and angry responses, he stuck to his beliefs. He's saying this just because he thinks differently. People shouldn't slander him. We shouldn't attack him for that. And as he said, he was never trying to convince anyone the world is flat. He's just trying to advocate that you don't really know for sure. He doesn't know if it's flat. He doesn't know if it's round. He just thinks it's fun to think about, and he wants to bring up this. He wants to bring up this conversation because he thinks it brings out. He thinks it's fun to get people mad, and also it's fun to just a little good discussion, a little dialogue with people about the shape of the Earth. Even though birds don't exist and the Earth is flat, some people may argue otherwise, but
they're wrong.
I only listen to what Kyrie says. Kyrie's so influential that a science teacher failed to teach his students, or failed to convince his students that the Earth was round because they all listened to Kyrie Irving more. As one should. Kyrie Irving, President 2024, still forever. Overall, I'm good for Kyrie for sticking to his guns, even if it's a bit of a ridiculous debate, or not ridiculous. Who's to say? Kyrie is not to say. So little clap for Kyrie Irving.
Anyways, talking about clapping, our next story is on Area 51. Area 51 was used in the 50s under Eisenhower's administration, or under Eisenhower's orders, to develop high-altitude recon planes that could be used to spy on Soviet Russia. The conspiracy about Area 51 originated after a disc-shaped parabolic aircraft crashed in New Mexico. The government said it was just a Russian spy plane at the time, but many theories surfaced after the story broke out about the strange aircraft. The government testing these planes has been thought to have been partially responsible for all of the UFO sightings around the area, but in the summer of 1955, sightings of UFOs were reported around Area 51. That's because the Air Force had begun its testing of the U-2 aircraft, so basically, once that first aircraft crashed, all these stories started breaking out because people started noticing all these different aircrafts in the sky around the area, around where Area 51 is. Some of the theories that surfaced was that the government keeps extraterrestrials hostage there, have autopsies performed on those extraterrestrials, and that the government has access to extraterrestrial technology at the site. Pretty wild stuff.
So like with this technology, like could it possibly like ray guns?
I mean, we have rail guns.
No, but ray guns make the cool noise.
They go pew pew. You ever seen Star Wars? Pew.
I actually have.
Sick.
Wait,
These conspiracies.
We've
is
enough.
Star Wars based on real events?
These conspiracies have had a resurgence recently due to whistleblower Bob Lazar and the Navy issuing statements about Area 51. Bob Lazar claims to have inside information, being an ex-employee at Area 51, while the Navy has stated that they in fact did not know what some of the UFOs really were. Another reason for the resurgence was the Area 51 raid Facebook event that started as a joke, but caused a stir as millions of people joined the event.
Yeah,
The goal of the event goers was to find supposed aliens held hostage at Area 51 and free them. But from there, people had a variety of intentions.
I was actually supposed to go to that, but I couldn't find a ride home.
Yeah, my mom could drive there, but she couldn't drive back, and Kobe's mom couldn't drive back either. So
Apparently,
That's
parents,
very unfortunate.
yeah, parents don't like driving to like.
no, they don't like both ways.
Yeah. Not about it.
Very nice.
Yes.
And that's where our podcast is going to end for today. Unfortunately, we did not have our fifth member here to end.
And our fourth
Podcast.
member also had to leave. However, we do have a special thanks to Raid Shadow Legends, don't we, Brennan?
Yeah. Thank you, Raid Shadow Legends, for sponsoring this episode. We'll keep you posted about next week's and give you some highlights. And we'll be coming out with our yearly compilation at the end of January.
And please subscribe to our Patreon for extra content.
We need the money so badly.